And here to take us inside the surviving miner's mindset is Dr. Robert Reiner. He's a psychologist and executive director of Behavioral Associates. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What kind of immediate effects can these miners expect after such an ordeal?
Well, it depends on the individual. Most of them obviously are experiencing tremendous relief, exhaustion, fatigue. Sometimes people feel anesthetized. They feel numb. They may not feel anything at all. They might have what we call a sleeper effect, where they don't experience any kind of emotional response, and then 3 months later they're having nightmares, panic attacks, concentration difficulties, stuff like that. It really depends.
Doctor, what about the mindset of someone who stared death in the face? How does that change somebody?
I think they probably will divide their lives now into two parts, before and after this happened. Most people I've worked with really have a sense of, you know, I'm really going to take life, not take life for granted anymore. Like people who have had a disease and recovered from it, they may spend more time with their family, kind of not let the days go by without examining what's going on.
Right. How many of these guys do you think, Doctor, will wind up going back into the mines? Because I read one report that one guy said, I'm never going down there again.
Yeah, one guy said his wife wouldn't let him go back.
Right.
And he always listens to his wife. You know, it really depends. Some people will feel like it's, you know, falling off a horse. You've got to get right back into it. You know, there's not a lot of work in that area. To a lot of guys, this stuff is in their blood.
Sure.
That's all they know.
How amazing was it to you as you looked at this, the team effort they put together? 9 tied themselves together. When one would get cold, they'd huddle around the other until they got the body heat up and maybe their body temperature up. When you're looking at that, analyzing that from the medical perspective, how rare?
Well, remember, these guys are professionals. This isn't like a plane crash where people go down in the mountains somewhere. They were trained to do this stuff. So, you know, I did hear what they were not trained to do was accept the fact that they were going to die.
Right.
I understand that tying themselves together was an effort so that if and when they did find them, they'd all be together.
So at what point, it would seem to me that they'd have to be at the end of their rope, Doctor, for them to say, okay, maybe they're not coming in after us.
Yeah.
After all, does anybody have a pen? I need to write a note. I need to write a will and put it in my lunchbox. At what stage, they'd already been down there, something like 48 hours. What happens to a person to say, you know, this is it?
Well, first of all, as I said, they're professionals. So in the back of their minds, they're living with the fact that this might happen one day. But, you know, like people with a terminal disease, they give up, despair.
It's not just the miners, though, themselves. It's also the family members that had to go through 3 agonizing days of not sure, you know, not knowing whether or not their loved one was going to survive or not. What are they going to be dealing with?
That's a good point. And in a lot of ways, it was worse for them because the element of control is out of their hands. Now, of course, it was also with the coal miners, but these people were really in the dark. That loss of control is what's so devastating to people emotionally.
Some people, Doctor, are on cloud 9 after their team wins the World Series or Super Bowl. What about Americans and people around the world that watch this and got the ending they were all hoping for?
Well, you know, there's been so much bad news lately that this is great. People are calling it a miracle, and that really is the buckle of the Bible Belt, that part of Pennsylvania. So I think that these people are just overjoyed with it. You sure can't compare this to winning the World Series. This is a different league than that.
Well, especially what they had to deal with on September 11th with Flight 93 crashing in that area, 10 miles away from the mining site. So this is great news for that area.
Yeah, but they didn't know any of those people on the airplane. They knew every one of those 9 guys down there.
That's true.
Dr. Robert Reiner, Executive Director of Behavioral Associates, we thank you very much for getting up and joining us on this early Monday morning. Thanks, Doctor.
Thanks for having me.
All right.